The man is skiing. Unexpectedly, the management personnel received a notification. A blizzard is about to strike. Let them evacuate the crowd. Advanced mountain closure. Unconscious men pursue excitement, but entered a prohibited venue. The snow is getting heavier as it falls. The visibility is also decreasing. When a man notices a change in weather, it's already too late. He slipped into the depths of the mountain without realizing it, and then I lost my way. He wants to make a distress call, but the phone doesn't have a signal. At this point, it is approaching dark. The temperature has also dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Hungry and thirsty, he originally wanted to light a fire to keep warm, but the few remaining matches were damp. Not a single one ignited. Due to the sudden incident, he didn't carry supplies. In this icy and snowy world, once trapped, the consequences will be unimaginable. After calming down for a while, he decided to find a way out, but the view at night made it difficult for him to determine the road conditions ahead, causing him to almost fall off a cliff. Fortunately, he managed to hold onto a small tree in time to avoid being killed, but misfortune never comes singly, as he continued to search for a way out in the woods. But he was stopped by a group of hungry wolves, who were eyeing his way. He tried desperately to calm himself down, because at this point, once he turns around and runs away, will definitely become a hungry wolf. Hence, he mustered up his courage. Use all your strength to shout at the wolf. Fortunately, the hungry wolf did not launch an attack. Instead, he turned around and left to call out his teammates. The man also took the opportunity to escape a disaster. Then he quickly dug a snow hole under the tree. Hide yourself inside, to evade the pursuit of the wolf pack. Early the next morning, the phone still has no signal. Hungry and thirsty, he originally wanted to lose blood and shock, but this will only accelerate dehydration in one's own body, so the man decided to set out again to find the planning point, but all around is a vast expanse of white, make it impossible for him to discern direction at all. After sliding for a long time, but before I knew it I came to an icy lake, but he just wanted to come forward and check the situation. The ice beneath my feet suddenly ruptured. The man instantly fell into the piercing lake. Fortunately, he has good water quality. After struggling for a moment, it surfaced, but it also cost him almost half his life. He dragged his tired body. Enduring hunger and cold, he came to the forest, trembling, take off the soaked clothes and air them, and he can only curl up, shivering and trembling. Fortunately, he found a small sealed bag, can melt snow water. Looking at the vast snowy mountains in the distance, the man's eyes were filled with despair. He doesn't know if he can get out alive, but his strong perseverance told him, never give up easily. Fortunately, as darkness approached, his clothes were all dried. Just then, he suddenly saw the lights shining brightly on the mountaintop not far away. The man was so excited that he couldn't help shouting loudly. That's exactly the cable car center. This means he is about to be rescued, but they never expected. God played a big joke on him again. After a simple night's rest, the man prepared to proceed to the cable car center, but he hasn't gone far yet. Just because the body is dehydrated, coupled with leg injuries and inflammation, he fell to the ground. He carefully took out the melted snow water. Take a sip. I just lay on the ground and fell asleep. When he wakes up again, it's the fourth day of being trapped. He carefully examined the injured leg. Unexpectedly, the wound had already adhered to the socks. He mustered the courage to tear open his socks. The result was a stab. Even the belt and meat were torn off. After taking a break, he had to tear off the flesh from his socks. Stumbling forward towards the mountaintop, when he struggled 1,000 times to reach the foot of the mountain, you can look up and see, there's nothing on the mountaintop. He tried to calm himself down. Repeated confirmation. The result is still empty. That's when he found out. The cable car center I saw last night, it's just my own illusion. The man collapsed instantly. This is the end of the matter. He had to pick up his mood and continue on his journey. He found an animal skeleton in a bush. After taking a look, except for bones, there's no meat at all. What made him even more desperate was, the phone's battery level also shows low, about to shut down. The only surviving device on his body now is the still Signalis radio. Time has arrived on the 5th day of being trapped. The man's legs have turned black. His strong desire to survive forced him to make a difficult decision. He held his breath, yanked off the socks again, then removed the flesh from the socks for impact. No matter what, I can't say anything. After a period of internal struggle, the man had to put this piece of flesh in his pocket. But his gaze also changed from the initial despair to an exceptionally firm one. Time has arrived on the 6th day. The sky is snowing heavily again, in the midst of hunger and cold. The man's physical condition has also plummeted. He struggled to take out the radio trying to find the signal, but in the end nothing was achieved. Time has arrived on the 7th day. The man's mother has been unable to contact him for several days. He is anxiously inquiring around. Fortunately, I learned from the man's friend, he was in the cabin, but after my mother arrived, the wooden house still lacks the figure of the man. Then my mother headed straight to the ski resort, because 7 days ago, the man left a message for his mother. Told you about skiing yourself. After the administrator saw the photo of the man, immediately initiate emergency search and rescue operations, simultaneously searching for all signals in radio communication, because 7 days ago, the man happened to come to the ski resort in the administrator's car, and that day happened to be when the ski resort was urgently closed down. But after the administrator took a helicopter search, but there was no discovery. The weather is starting to deteriorate again. He can only return temporarily. Meanwhile, the man heard the sound of the helicopter. He was so excited that he quickly shouted in a hoarse and weak voice. The only response to him was the roar of the engine. Watching the hope of survival fly overhead, the man collapsed to the ground in despair. I don't have the strength anymore. On the 8th day, his desire to survive forced him to take out the piece of flesh hidden in his pocket and chew it in his mouth. After a simple rest, the man decided to advance towards the mountain top. Only standing tall, Only the radio can receive the signal, but he didn't know. The search and rescue team has already planned to abandon the search and rescue, because this is the coldest winter in 10 years. Moreover, in this environment, 8 days have exceeded the limit of human survival, and the man is still struggling to climb to the top of the mountain, although he doesn't know the final result of climbing up. But this is the only way he can get a signal. It's also the only way to be rescued. But as we move forward, the stronger the wind and snow. Every step he takes is extremely difficult. When there is less than 10 steps to the top of the mountain, but the man was too tired, fell heavily dehydrated, and fell to the ground. I don't know how long it took. The man slowly opened his eyes again. Here, he still doesn't want to give up the difficult movement of his body, climbed towards the top of the mountain bit by bit. Finally, he relied on his tenacious perseverance, climbed to the top of the mountain with a last trace of strength. What he didn't expect was, at this point, the radio only has 4% battery left. The man lay powerless on the ground and started recording. After taking the last breath to record the last words for the family, he quietly closed his eyes, waiting for the arrival of death. Meanwhile, the search and rescue team unexpectedly caught a fleeting faint signal. Hence, the administrator immediately organized personnel to search the mountain. According to the coordinates of the signal, directly reached the man's location. Finally, the man was trapped in the snow mountain for 8 days. With tenacious perseverance and a desire to survive, successfully rescued.